Before we officially start, may we bless this event with an opening prayer. Heavenly Father, we dedicate this gathering to you. May you give guidance and mercy and bring success to all our intentions. Guide us, O Lord, that all the minds and words of each one of us may be worthy of you, and that we may take to heart the good of all and spread your word. Fill us with the Holy Spirit to keep the destination of all our efforts. And that in your name may we carry out all of our duties and purpose in a good order. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Saint John Baptist de Lasalle, with Jesus in our hearts.
Hail, hail, alma mater, hail to De La Salle. We'll hold your banner high and bright, a shield of green and white. We'll fight to keep your glory bright, and never shall we fail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail. Hail, hail, alma mater, hail to De La Salle. We'll hold your banner high and bright, a shield of green and white. We'll fight to keep your glory bright, and never shall we fail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, hail, hail, hail.
Good afternoon, Lasallians, and welcome to COMELEC Podcast 2023.
Your guide to resilient leadership.
It's been a year since our last podcast, and we are excited to finally host the event this year. I am Kyra Ramos, your National and International Affairs Officer of DLSL Community.
And I'm Elizarine Camacho, the chairperson of DLSL Community, and we are your hosts for this year's COMELEC Podcast. Before we start, partner, may I ask, how has this week been for you so far? Ayan, so for me, syempre, after 2 long years of caution due to the pandemic, Salle Lipa has once again opened the doors for all students to now utilize the traditional face-to-face classes. Kaya naman medyo adjusting pa ako ngayon, to be honest. Nakakapanibago ka din kasi talaga. Ikaw po, partner, how was your pandemic?
Well, for me naman, partner, I am so glad to be back in campus again, especially because I have the chance to interact with our professors and of course our classmates, and this time in person now. Though it's overwhelming at first, pero kinakaya naman siya so far.
Ayun nga, partner, as the pandemic brought various challenges and changes to the system of education in our institution, we shifted from face-to-face to online to hybrid and then a full 360 turn to a full face-to-face setup once again. So we recognize talaga that it will be more challenging to step up and take the courage to lead.
Yes, and we have yet to learn how student leaders adapt to these changes. Kaya naman today we have the opportunity to have a discussion with the student leaders that know these struggles well.
Kaya para sa mga nag-hesitate and having doubts to file their candidacy, our green box is still open until March 24, 2022. This is sign na science, kaya naman file your COC right now.
Trian partner, ongoing po ang filing of candidacy. You guys can go ahead and check out DLSL COMELEC and the Student Government's Facebook page for more details. Ayan, so mukhang napapasarap ang kwentuhan natin, partner, no? Kahit simula pa lang, I hope our listeners are as excited because all of us here will get to learn and get inspired by our guest speakers and experiences.
Yes, and speaking of experiences for this year's Women's Month celebration, the DLSL Lipa Commission on Elections hope to open a discussion about the contributions made by women in terms of legislative roles within the political field.
Yes, and we invited notable women to discuss and provide experiences and awareness of the changes and developments in today's generation and the significance of women's political involvement and legislative roles as public servants. Join us by registering through the QR code provided on the screen or the link below. Don't miss the opportunities, Lasallians.
And of course, let us all be reminded of the following guidelines before we start. So first, using the registration link that was made accessible last week on March 8, 2023, all our participants today had the opportunity to ask questions to our speakers.
Second, all participants are expected to start and finish the program.
Third, during the event, the use of insulting words as well as inappropriate acts and attitudes is strictly prohibited. Students who violate this guideline will be reported to the College Discipline Office.
And of course, only those who answered the evaluation form after the event will be given the certificate of appreciation and attendance. So our audience, please be reminded of these guidelines until the end of our event.
Yes, and of course, we would also like to express our sincerest gratitude to the team behind this podcast. Of course, our DLSL COMELEC family, College Student Activities Office, and of course, our lovely listeners and viewers who are now streaming with us today. So we really hope that you stay with us until the end and have a great opportunity with us to learn from our invited guests and communicate with our fellow Lasallian student leaders.
And to officially welcome us this afternoon, may we call on Mr. Mark Ruel Mista, the Sabine Co-Commissioner of the DLSL COMELEC and Activity Head, for his welcoming message. Let us
Yan, so good afternoon to everyone, to our participants, to our DLSL COMELEC this year's podcast team, and to our guest speakers. Hindi naman magiging mahaba itong message na to, but I appreciate all of your presence this afternoon. I know na your presence today is not for our organization, the DLSL Commission and Elections, but for the institution. Siyempre, para matulungan ang DLSL Lipa, especially there is a transition of going back to normal. And for us to help our beloved institution, we offer this event to you as we will gain knowledge with the help of our speakers. I believe there is a reason why you are here, and hindi naman to aksidente as there is a purpose why you are here. I hope now you will learn today kasi alam ko na helpful dito para sa lahat. Let us relax and just enjoy the whole event. Maraming salamat and once again, good afternoon to all.
thank you for your wonderful message, Mr. Mista. Indeed, we are meant to serve our beloved institution.
We hope that you are all excited for our topics this afternoon because today's event is relevant and important lalo na sa mga nag-hesitate to start their student leader journey.
Baka dyan, partner. Kaya naman, we invited guest speakers for today to share their experiences and perspective as student leaders themselves.
Let us now proceed to the main part of our program as we introduce our speakers dahil alam naming excited na ang ating mga viewers. For our first speaker, he is a fellow Lasallian as he is also from DLSL Lipa since 7th grade. He is now taking Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering. He's an active youth leader, and he believes that to be a leader means being able to work through obstacles as things that could make you better will differentiate you from other people. That is what it means to be a leader. Today, he is also the Youth City Second Chancellor, Batch 2021. We are honored to have you today, Mr. Dwayne Miguel Lilo. Hello, Mr. Dwayne.
Thank you for your precious time, everyone. Good afternoon po.
Ayan, hello and good afternoon po sa inyo. So relax muna kayo dyan as we introduce ang other nating makakatikahan this afternoon. For our second speaker, before the pandemic, he was the Deputy Secretary General of the Youth Parliamentarians of Laguna in 2019. He was also the Deputy Director for Internal Affairs from 2018 to 2019. He was also the Deputy Director for Internal Affairs from 2018 to 2019 and Executive Director from 2019 to 2020 of San Pablo Youth Leaders Organization. During the pandemic, he also handled various positions such as acting chairperson and active citizenship in 2021 and a member in 2020 of the San Pablo Youth Development Council. He was also the Deputy Director for Special Projects, Advocacy and Activities and a co-head advocacy cluster in 2020 of the Youth Parliamentarians of Laguna. Also, he was a partner organization, Bangon Bayan 2020, of the Good Gov PH from 2021 to 2022. He was the regional scout representative of the Boy Scouts of the Philippines Southern Tagalog region. And in addition, he was also a member of the managing board in 2021 of the Alliance of Public Health Advocates.
He was also the news editor of the editorial board of GE News school publication academic year 2020 to 2021. Then from 2020 to 2022, he was an assistant crew leader of the Boy Scouts of the Philippines Outfit 41. He was also the president of the academic year 2021 to 2022 homeroom organization when he was in grade 12. Also, he was a member of the youth policy of Sunuc San Pablo in 2020 to 2022. Lastly, he was a member from 2014 to 2021 of St. Francis of Assisi Parish, Knight of the Altar. And today, he is the Technical Working Officer, Anti-Discrimination Ordinance, and the Legal and Policy Committee Head of CAISA or Kaakibat Inclusibong San Pablo, and a member of the Health Policy Committee of Alliance of Public Health Advocates. He is also a member of Eagle Scout Association of San Pablo City Council and the 10 Outstanding Boy Scouts of the Philippines Association. It is a pleasure to have and welcome today Mr. Jonsel Andre Tigzan. Hello and good afternoon po, Mr. Jonsel. My name is Kyra and this is my partner Eliza, and we are very excited to hear your stories today.
Hi, hello! Ayan, good afternoon to all of our viewers. Sa ating amazing host, thank you so much for introducing me. Actually, sobrang dami na, no? But I hope that my experience will help our fellow Lasallian, yung ating mga Lasallian leaders here, to decide of whether you will be choosing to lead. And I hope marami tayong pag-usapan tonight, this afternoon. Ayun, let's make this light to everyone. And once again, good afternoon, everyone.
Ayan. So before anything else, we are curious. We would like to know the personal struggles of everyone during the pandemic. But before that po, parang gusto kong unahin si Ate Cara muna ng aking partner. Ayan, Ate Cara, kamusta ang iyong pandemic?
Well, ang main struggle ko before, partner, was the adjustment na need gawin because of the changes. Kasi nga, partner, I am so used in communicating with my peers in person, so conversing with them in the new normal setup freaked me out a little bit. So, kayo po ba, Kuya Jansel and Kuya Dwayne? Hindi pwedeng ako lang naman yung mag-share, di ba? What was your experience naman when the pandemic strikes? Nakaranas po ba kayo ng struggles before?
Me personally, I think ako yung first, no? Hello. Me personally, actually, ang daming opportunities yung paparating way back nung before mag-COVID. I think that's around March. And during March, meron kami mga activities like I was grade 10 that time. Meron kami noong retreat At the same time, meron din kaming prom. So, with those two things, nawala sa akin yung experience na yun. So, may mga opportunities tayo na hindi nakuha. Along with this is, I was invited then to become a participant sa isang event. It's actually called Philippine Model Congress. And because of that, hindi rin tayo naka-join because of the pandemic. So, basically, there's a lot of opportunities na na-miss tayo. But later on, siguro may share pa rin natin of the things that why we should still be thankful for the pandemic despite all of the struggles. I think may mga learnings tayong pwedeng i-share during the pandemic. And ayun, siguro there's a lot of missed opportunities but we'll get there. We'll get there sa story ng other things.
Yeah, that is so relatable po, Kuya Dwayne. Kuya Jansel, like madami talaga tayong na-miss na opportunity during the pandemic, but definitely we're looking forward na magawa na natin siya right now na maluwag na yung setup. Now, how about Kuya Dwayne? How was your pandemic experience naman po?
Po, marami nga pong adjustments, lalo po sa mga experiences na parang na wala po. Pero we got to see firsthand po how home isolation turned into quality family time. And we were inspired by schools, especially in our school, how they changed the model of their learning setup to accommodate for the safety of their students. And we were inspired of how residents and restaurant owners, think the essential workers who continue to do their job at great personal cost, because as if we had discovered the true meaning of community, and it wasn't the material thing. It wasn't how many activities we were involved in or how late we were in school. It was those little things. Sabi nga nila, these little things became the big things this last year.
Ayan, thank you so much Kuya Dwayne and Kuya Jansel for sharing your experience. Since narinig na natin ang experience din yung tatlo, I think it's time na i-share ka rin yung sa akin. For me naman, I think I am very privileged to say that my pandemic experience was good. But if you ask my pandemic to yourself, I would definitely say no. Dahil halos lahat naman tayo na-experience talaga ang napakaraming types ng heartbreak, so feelings of isolation, and napakarami pang iba. But looking back, I am very grateful then that I went through all of that at patuloy pa rin lumalaban because it has always been a vision of mine to always look good of everything. And I believe that I experienced what I went through to teach me something talaga. For me, my pandemic was a time of deep reflection, awareness in my surroundings, and syempre, it was also an opportunity din para sa akin, para makilala ko yung sarili ko and to spend time with my family.
Yeah, it just shows that people had different experiences during the pandemic. Mapa-workers man, sa iba't ibang field, mga bata, estudyante man yan, and even our leaders, right?
Yes, affected ang maraming tao before because of the pandemic. And we are gradually returning to normal at kasama na dyan ang ating mga guest speakers for our podcast.
Yeah, and since we all shared our experiences na during the pandemic, alamin naman natin ang inyong stories and experiences before the pandemic sa inyong journey as leaders.
Ayun, so we want to know po you personally as a leader in your respective organizations. So ang tanong po namin is, how did you start as a leader before the pandemic? So siguro si Kuya Jansen muna.
Ayan, actually that's a very great question kasi it's very important na makita natin kung saan nanggagaling yung stories when we explain things later on. But during or before the pandemic, I started my leadership journey siguro way back at church pa. It started nung grade 4 pa lang ako. I serve as a sacristan sa aming church. And there, nagkaroon ako ng experience or nagkaroon ako ng prinsipyo na gamitin yung ating talents and skills for the common good. I believe that the capabilities and our talents are a gift from God. That's why naging fuel ko yun to help other people. And when I stepped in high school, I joined various organization. I think hindi naman halata nung inintroduce ako kanina, I joined various organization just to explore things of the things that I would learn. And naniniwala rin ako na if you want to really develop ourselves, we really need to find people na magpakatulong sa atin. Same-minded people. So dahil doon, I joined various organization. Noong time na yan, medyo takot ako na mag-lead. But I realized na kailangan natin to get things, to get good things in life, we must risk things. Sometimes we must sacrifice. And because of those things, I have come far kung nasan man ako ngayon. So, ayun, it started with exploring, having this urge to learn from people, to be getting feedbacks, and to actually trying to fail. Kasi niniwala ako na failure is something na bibigay sa atin ng new direction. It tells us which is which na kahinaan natin, na kailangan natin i-focus on, and makita rin natin dito along the process that there are strengths that build us as a leader, which makes our identity unique among others. So it started with exploration, joining things, taking risks, and eventually, makikita natin yun, we will grow, and we will go forward.
Ayan, thank you so much for that, Kuya Jancel. So, tumatak talaga sa akin yung sinabi mo na gamitin ang ating common talents for our own good. And if we want to develop ourselves, humanap tayo ng same-minded people. Ikaw ba, Ate Cara, anong may takeaway mo sa share sa atin ni Kuya Jancel?
Well, sa akin, as a leader, there are things talaga na you have to sacrifice, like personally, to fulfill your responsibilities. And as a leader myself, I can definitely relate to that. And I know our listeners who are leaders as well can relate to that too. So, yeah, how about Kuya Dwayne? May we know po your perspective po, like, can we know you more po as being a leader po?
I can relate po sa sinabi ni Kuya Tikson. Nag-start din po ang aking pagiging leader when I joined the altar servers in church. And then when I was grade 5, and then sa pagtagal po, naging coordinator, and then kailangan po mag-lead and may eagerness to be a leader, to be a leader na responsible, ganun po. Tapos, and then nung nag-join naman po ako sa youth leadership by Mayor Africa, our city mayor, doon ko po naging yung knowledge, yung mga dapat ginagawa, ano po ang dapat na characteristics and such ng isang leader. And kung isipin po natin, it starts with resiliency. If we focus on resilience as part of our qualities that we can bring forward, or we have the opportunity to share experiences, and we can use it as an opportunity to show that we can do better, and we can be the resilient leaders that this country so desperately needs. And it's not about the title. And every one of us can step up and adopt and be the change and be part of the solution. Yun po yung aking mga experiences of being a leader na up to now po ay aking ginagawa.
Yes, thank you for that, Kuya Dwayne. Napaka-inspiring naman po talaga. And we definitely relate to that po na it's not about the title, it's about your capability and your drive to lead and to empower other people. And yeah, as you mentioned earlier, there are so many people who struggled when the pandemic emerged. Iba't ibang mga tao, kaya naman we would like to hear as well your struggles and hardships as leaders when the pandemic emerged. Yeah.
Yeah, so marami talaga, tulad ng mga nabanggit nyo kanina. And there are things na nagpahirap sa atin during the pandemic. Okay, ayan. So to move forward po, may we know the ways you did para mapanatiling anyong leadership despite the challenges and struggles brought by the pandemic?
Maybe I can start with the question, ano ba yung mga naging adjustments, ano yung mga ginawa natin to do, meron tayong magawa during the pandemic. Syempre maraming naging adjustments, nandyan yung time na naninibago tayo, the feeling of isolation is really felt. Pero para sa akin, in a leader perspective, I saw it as a means to help others. Kasi nung time na yun, maraming mga operations yung tumigil. May mga, for example, yung everyday lives natin nag-stop. Yung pagpunta sa trabaho, di ba, pag-aaral, tumigil talaga yan because we have to lock ourselves. Yung sabi nga nila, lockdown. Pero sa amin dito, parang naging way namin yun to challenge ourselves to help others. Kasi sa leader's perspective, we look at problems as something na we need to find solutions for. It calls us to do actions. It challenges us to help others even na tayo ay nahihirapan. So it really shows us na kailangan natin ma-find yung purpose in what we are doing. As leaders, ano-ano nga ba yung mga bagay na nag-iignite sa'yo? Kasi para sa akin, during the pandemic, many of us has lost their hope. But ako as someone as a leader, naniniwala ako na meron akong optimism in me. And I use my influence to help others regain their hope na maniwala pa rin na despite the problems during the pandemic, they can still do well. So nagkaroon kami ng iba't ibang mga projects dito sa San Pablo, primarily. Nagkaroon tayo ng mga activities wherein we engage the youth. Nagkaroon tayo ng mga trainings, nagkaroon tayo ng mga community projects, kasama na dyan yung mga community pantries, di ba? So, in these ways, yung mga youth natin na parang they felt na wala na silang magagawa. As leaders, we want na pagsamasamahin yung mga taong ito. We want na ma-feel nila that there are people behind them at may mga taong ready na tumulong sa kanila. So, nung pandemic, napakarami natin marami tayong mga activities and projects na ginawa kasi ito yung time na kailangan ng mga tao. It is now more than ever na kailangan natin mag-act because if hindi tayo mag-act, sino? So there is always this question na are you a leader lang ba kung kailan everything is okay, or you will be stepping up and you will be showing your leadership when everything is going down? So at the difficult moments, at difficult times, our leadership will be tested sa mga panahon na yun. And I hope we step up and show ourselves. Kasi leaders do that. Okay, kapag sa times ng problems, in times of difficulties, we show up. Kasi if we do not show up, we are not leaders. We are cowards. We do not have the guts. We do not have that heart of helping others. And I hope ma-feel natin yun. And it is also a fulfillment to help others. So finding your purpose and having that fulfillment in seeing the happy faces in other people's lives, that you have helped them. These are really the things that fuels me. Na kahit everything is going down, we are stepping up as leaders. So ayun, thank you so much. Parang ayun.
Ayun, Kuya, I really like yung sinabi mo na find the purpose of what we are doing and to help others to gain their hope. So as leaders yun, as student leader myself, Kuya, parang nakarelate ako yung sa sinabi mo talaga, yung fulfillment kapag nakikita mo parang nag-benefit yung mga tao sa prepare natin. So as leaders, kailangan ma-feel talaga ng tao na behind them, merong tutulong sa kanila. Parang naalala ko rin yung quote na great power comes great responsibility. So ikaw, Kuya Dwayne, so ayun, ano po ba yung mga experiences nyo and hardships nyo when the pandemic emerged.
Yun. When we realized that it was going to be longer than just a couple of weeks, I mean the lockdown and such, we said, don't worry, couple of weeks will be back to normal. Little did we know that those weeks would turn into months and then half a year and longer still. And that initial fear turned into depression, bewilderment, and anger. And of course, the man-made pressure point erupted. The communities around the country, around the city, became the stage for protest for social change. It was hard to ignore when we were in isolation and lockdowns. And for many of us, it was happening in our backyards. And the dash. The dash between March 2020 and March 2021 is probably going to go down as one of the most painful in modern history. Because for all the good that we saw, we also saw the bad that can come. So, we are standing on this ledge. Where do we go from here? What's we're moving towards this post-pandemic era? And what's next? This is going to be the most important questions and decisions of our lifetime. We reset our lives regularly. We change schools, we move to new homes, find new friends, adapt new lifestyles, and these are all the changes that we take, and sometimes they were forced upon us. And sometimes we chose them. But what makes these changes successful? I'm going to get to tell you two things: determination and the help from others. So let's reframe our reset. The world is changed forever. We're not going back to normal, and we've changed too. We need to learn and move forward and get to a place where we can be collectively resilient. So let's go back to the collective good. How do we focus and move society to a place where we all benefit, where we all learn and grow and live? I don't know if you guys have noticed, but over the last couple of decades, Philippine culture has been shifted. We've gone from the collective good to the individual good. So in other words, we've gone from the community to individual freedoms. Individual freedoms work during the best of time, but can be disruptive during the of crisis. It is the collective efforts to overcome adversity that moves us forward. And we've also become a society of victims. We've taken the hyper-partisan, it's not my fault, and the blame game that the slightest wrong gets blamed on someone else or something else. And nothing is off the table with the blame game. News organizations are struggling with their news stories. They are focusing on the individual needs of the viewers rather than the collective good of our community. And the political leaders are feeling the same pressure. They are spinning the facts and creating a news story, and at the same time calling other news fake. So many Filipinos today don't know who to trust when they get their news. They trust people they know over the verified facts. And they are also creating this discord. There's a disconnect between having a conversation, listening to what's going on, and the willingness to stand up and talk about what's right. We got caught up in that hyper-partisanship. It's the irreplacing of the news stories. It's the social grandstanding on systematic issues. These are the things that need to change, and we can only be working together. And here's where we start. It starts with us. We have unbelievable opportunity over the next few years to take all that we've learned. We've learned a lot, right? We can take all of this to become better, and to do better, to create a society that is encompassing for everyone, so that it's not just that hyper-partisan, but it's about a true meaning. And during the pandemic and the lockdown, we had to take whatever we could find. We looked for resources to help residents to get the questions answered that was so desperately needed. We worked together and we created alliances. And we found that we were stronger when we worked together. And true leadership doesn't come from a title. True leadership came because we put the effort, we took the time to understand what was needed, to focus on the community and the individuals, and to do better and be better, to back a community that was so desperately looking for anything. True leadership is for the collective good.
Ayan, thank you so much for that, Kuya Dwayne. So, ang tumatak talaga sa isip ko is the world is changed forever. So, di na tayo babalik sa past. And ang magagawa lang natin is to move forward. Ayan. So, ikaw ba, Kuya Ate Cara, ano tumatak sa'yo?
Well, tumatak sa akin talaga is when Kuya Dwayne brought us back dun sa mga experiences natin before sa pandemic. And it really bring me the nostalgic feels of how it feels to be isolated, and of course the sadness and the depression that comes with it. But katulad nga na sinabi ni Kuya kanina, the resilience, it's teaching us something like we will not see the problem as problem itself, but we will see it as an opportunity to step up and be a better version of ourselves, to lead more people and empower our truth. So yun, it was actually sad na talagang ang daming tao napektuhan because of the pandemic, including you, our speakers.
And yan, so, huli you move forward, like sabi ni Kuya Dwayne, may we know the ways you did para mapanatili ang inyong leadership despite the challenges and struggles brought by the pandemic. So ano po yung mga tips ninyo?
Would you like to answer first? Ikaw naman, Dwayne. Then next naman ako.
Can you repeat the question po?
Ayan, for our third question po, ayan, we would like to know your tips on how to be resilient nung na-face forward tayo sa struggles ng pandemic.
So how? Protocols taught us how to physically interact with people, right? Do you fist bump or elbow bump, or you distance yourself 2 meters away while talking? But what those protocols couldn't do was to give us the emotional and intellectual interactions that follows to us. We need to do better, and to do better, we need to understand how that interaction is going to be going forward. We need to hold our leaders responsible to do the change that needs to happen. And it starts with resiliency. If we focus on resilience as part of our collective reset, we can bring forward opportunity to share experiences. We can use it as an opportunity to show that we can do better for our communities. We can be the resilient leaders that this country so desperately needs. And this is about collective, not about the individual. It's bringing us back to a community versus our individual freedoms. No one denies your individual freedoms, but if we don't have the ability to see and hear what our neighbors are feeling, then we've just isolated ourselves, and we are not part of how we move forward. And that's where we begin our collective resiliency. We have to learn from the crisis. We have to be able to know that our communities are going to be stronger from all that we've endured and that all that we've experienced. And now go back to our leaders and the efforts that they've done to undermine our election. Those are the things that will continue to keep us where we are. That will give us the opportunity to grow and become better, to do better. We need to hold our leaders accountable. Because together we can adapt and be agile. We can transition on a dime and focus on addressing the questions and concerns that comes up. And it's not about how do we go back to what we had. What we had is gone. Throw it away, pretend it doesn't exist. It's not there anymore. We have a clean slate. We get to start fresh, and we get to create an environment where everyone is welcome, everyone is part of the community. And it's on us, each and every one of us, to be a part of the collective change and the collective good. Because there's a new normal, and that new normal is going to give us the chance. It's going to give us a society that's inclusive, that is adaptive, and that is open to everyone and everyone who wants to be part of it. And together we are going to create and build this new world order that will be there for us and will provide for our future generations. That future we want our kids and your grandkids and everyone else to experience. That's what we are building. We are going to reset through this collective resiliency.
Ayan. So according to Kuya Dwayne, start fresh and create a community where everyone feels included. So how about you, Kuya Dancel? Ano po ang mga tips ninyo?
Ayan, thank you so much. Actually, there's a lot, but masasabi ko lang talaga dito is you have to search, you have to search within yourselves. How? We must be a reflective leader. So how can we do that? We have to always self-assess. We must always reflect on things na bakit nga ba ayoko? When you feel na parang there is a calling within you, assess yourselves, what are the things that hinders me to lead? Is it fear? Is it the fear from failing? Or is it just because you are an introvert person? Kasi as a leader, there's actually importance ng interpersonal skills. So you have to really talk to others. Sometimes it is not really aligned with our personality. But gusto ko lang sabihin sa'yo that you have to reflect hard. Bakit kailangan ba ng leader? Why do we need to step up amidst the problems? Kasi leaders arise from challenges. Not because everything is doing well, but because there's a problem that needs your talents. Sabi ko nga kanina, one of my principles in life is that our talents is only a gift. And if this is not used to help others, or if this is not used well, then it is an untapped potential. And I am here speaking to you that you have potential within you. That when you reflect hard, that there's actually an answer to your whys. Ba't ka nga ba naglilingkod? Why do I lead? These questions are actually very personal. And I hope that when you answer your whys, these are not self-greed. Because you just want to increase your curriculum vitae or you just want to look good. But I hope that when you actually lead, you're actually looking for purpose. That your answers to your whys is a shared noble goal with other people. Because I truly believe that when leaders arise and we answered our whys, we're actually being part of the humanity's hope. So you have to really reflect hard. Is this actually coming from failure? Is this actually coming from my fears? Or is it outside of my personality? But there's actually so many ways to lead. Even though there is no position, pag nagkaroon ng problems, sometimes tayong kinokol and you just have to answer sometimes. Na ngayon, if you feel that there is no one leading, there is no one to represent the student body, you ask yourself, do I have the capability to lead? And if answer mo parang wala pa akong capability, but I want to learn, I am willing to learn, then you have a potential. Because that feeling of wanting to learn, because of that feeling that you actually wanted to become part of the change, that you want to help others, is already a potential. At sinasabi ko ito because it all starts with saying yes. It all starts with saying yes to the question na, this is really for me? So I want you to explore and I want you to try. Is it okay to fail within the process? No one became master. Everyone starts as a beginner. There will be people behind you who will help you. And there's always people that you can actually call to. And as leaders, we must learn to adapt in a way na may mga problems na hindi natin mafo-foresee. But this adaptiveness is actually a skill that you can bring wherever you are. Being able to recognize problems, being able to find solutions within these things, being able to decide very quickly, being able to, finding ways on how you can help. Asking yourselves repeatedly, paano ko tutulungan yung student body? For example, may problem tayo sa admins, ganyan. How can we actually learn to communicate with them? How can we bridge yung students to the admins? This is the role of us leaders, especially as student leaders. We want to bridge the gap between the students and the administrator because we want to represent the student body. And if you feel that you want to do that, having that noble goal, a noble pursuit of representing the student body, I think it's worth a try. Because kung tatanungin ninyo ako, that saying yes to leadership had led me everywhere. Not just because of the awards or the recognition, the money or the praises, but it's actually a self-fulfillment that you're actually helping others, that you're using your talents and capabilities of helping other people. Kasi at the end of the day, this rewards, this praises, nawawala yan. But knowing that there are people that you have touched lives, knowing that there are people na may mga problems ka na na-conquer mo, not just because you are there, but because you're able to collate students, you're able to bridge the gaps between the problems within your school, within your community. This is actually self-fulfilling. And sometimes, meron tayong existential crisis. Na parang, we're gonna die someday. But syempre, we do not always look at it that way. But we just want to make every second counts. And being part in a leadership role, or going through this leadership journey would not be easy. There will be sacrifice, there will be hardships, but I know that this will be worthwhile. That everything that you will do in your leadership journey is actually fulfilling. It is actually good for your soul. And it is good to be part of the humanities hope. And I hope that you reflect hard. May mga tao ba ang gustong tulungan? And if you are actually that people, we need that untapped potential within you. So I hope you say yes. And let's just see where you are now. Diba?
Ayan, kaya naman file na kayo ng COC. Ayun. So sabi ni Kuya Jan, I'll always go back to our why. And ayun, I agree talaga Kuya, hindi lahat kasi may calling. So kung ikaw, tinatawag ka talaga, ibig sabihin para sa'yo na yan. And ayun, personally speaking, hindi talaga madali and self-doubt ay hahabulin ka kahit saan. So it starts with saying yes talaga. Hindi mo naman malalaman na kaya mo pala kung hindi mo naman gagawin. So ayun, ikaw pa Ate Cara, anong thoughts mo?
Well, my takeaway kay Kuya is that be a reflective leader. Like, you have to reflect within yourself. Like, what are the opportunities that you have na you have to work on to be a better leader. And of course, tama nga naman yung sinabi kanina ni Kuya na the problem calls for the leaders. Kasi the leaders are made when there are problems arising, and that is when you should show up and you have to step up and be the part of a whole or be part ng someone who will empower the other people to be as resilient as you are then in the future. Yan. So yeah.
So speaking of resiliency, para sa inyo po ba, gaano kahalaga ang resiliency in leadership? Ayan, siguro si Kuya Dwayne ulit muna.
As I said earlier, with resiliency, it starts with resiliency, right? If we focus on resilience as part of our collective reset, we can bring forward the opportunity to share experiences, and we can use it as an opportunity to show that we can do better for our communities. We can be the resilient leaders that this country so desperately needs. And again, it's not about the title. We can step up, be part of the change. And the Resiliency Leadership Institute tells us that true resiliency is the ability to effectively adapt to challenge, change, and complexity in a way that it enhances the experience and not diminishes it. In other words, we grow stronger from adversity. So going forward, we need to become resilient. And how do we do that? We go through the process, we focus on issues that are important, we look for goals that create the greater good. We have to learn from the crisis. We have to be able to know that our communities are going to be stronger. Because together we can adapt. and be agile. Classes as usual, I said no longer the norm. We are going to be an ever changing, ever evolving society, and it's on us. And every one of us has to be part of that collective change and the collective good.
Ayan. So, sabi ni Kuya Dwayne, we learn going through the process. So ako, to share my experience, ako talaga, yung experience ko as student leader is biglaan lang din talaga. Pero, ayun, since nagulat ako na ganun pala kahirap, nung simula, parang medyo nabawasan talaga yung motivation ko. Pero, ayun, going through the process, natutunan ko rin siya and nalaman ko na, ayun, hindi pala siya ganun mahirap siya, pero hindi siya, parang, ayun, nahanap ko na yung word, happy pagod. So, sobrang fulfilling talaga niya if nakikita mo na masaya yung mga tinutulungan mo and meron kang nagagawang change. Ayun. So, moving forward, guys, so, I think we can move forward na to our next segment. Sa tingin mo ba, partner?
Yes, definitely. We can move forward to our next segment where we will be answering questions sent from by our viewers for today. And how about, let's start na, no? I think, ready na ba yung mga questions, partner?
Yes, ready na ang mga katanungan sa ating listeners. So, first question. Ayan. Sabi ni Anonymous Sender number 1, any tips on how to handle criticism?
Siguro kung muna mag-answer nito na, that's actually a very important question. Just to share a little bit, meron akong sister, ayan, so someone na very close to me. Meron akong sister who actually started only leadership during her senior high school days. It started with just running sa position started from vice presidency. And from that position, it allowed her to actually contribute sa kanilang section. This is an homeroom organization. So, nung time na yun, naging busy yung kanilang president. During that time, I think their president is an athlete and it somehow affected her schedule to lead. And it became an opportunity for my sister to step up. Sabi nga nila, with pag wala ang president, papalitan ng vice president, right? And during that time, ayun, parang nag-step down yung president nila at nagkaroon ng pagkakataon kapatid ko na maging president. Actually, nagkaroon na re-election and the people voted for her. And during those times na parang nagkaroon na isang incident na nagkaroon ng criticisms na parang hindi niya na-carry ng maayos. There are these times talaga na as leaders, there will be feedbacks in your leadership. And sometimes hindi tayo, kumbaga parang hindi tayo, what is the proper word? Hindi tayo comfortable with these criticisms. Kasi kahit pa yan constructive or not, it's still a criticism. And this is something that I want to stress out in leadership. Leadership is not only about inspiring other people, is not only about motivating others, is not only about the title na binabanggit din ni Dwayne. Leadership comes along with these struggles. Na being a leader is actually hard. Being a leader requires you to sacrifice things. And na being a leader, it actually calls you that there will be problems. Na hindi lang ito puro saya. Ito rin ay may pagod at hirap. And this is normal. And I hope that when you come arise sa mga criticisms na ito, we are able to know when to react and not to react. Kasi sometimes yung criticism is there for us to develop ourselves. Even though it is good or bad, kailangan natin intindihin that being leaders, there are actually people following us. And if we have this wrong mindset, pag meron tayong wrong idea within our heads, sometimes most of the time, criticisms allows us to see the problems. And if you see the problems, we're able to change these things, which we were able to change some systems that could improve your leadership. So, it actually takes time. Sa mga, siguro sa first times, it will be hard to accept criticisms, but it is part of the process. You know, sabi ko nga kanina, not everyone started as a master. Everyone started with these things. And know na after these things, no, yung mga problems na yan na nag-arise, you will become better. You will know better. And ayun, take it lightly, and know when to react and not to react, and actually recognize the problems. Kasi bakit ba sila nagrereklamo at the first place? Because there is reason behind it. And as leaders, we must know kung saan din sila nanggagaling. Baka kasi it is way of our talking to others, it is way of our means, di ba? Baka meron tayong projects na hindi pala helpful, na mahirap pala for them. So this is actually a feedback to you as well. And I hope na i-take natin ito with great value within our leadership. So ayun na. Thank you so much. That's a good question.
Ayun. So, thank you for that, Kuya Jansel. So, we really should take it as a feedback na naman. How about you, Kuya Dwayne? How do we handle criticism?
Tayo gumana. Love. Yun. Hello po. So, di ba ang criticisms po ay parang pamumuna. Kapag po tayo ay open-minded, we leaders are open-minded, we can use it as a tool to be better as leaders. Kasi, in the first place nga, sabi nga po ni Kuya Tikson, kaya nag-exist yung criticisms na yon kasi there is something wrong or there is something there's something that needs to be changed or mabago sa atin bilang leaders. At isang magandang opportunity na mapuna o magkaroon ng criticisms kasi it will help you to grow as an individual, as leaders. Para sa susunod, marami kumbaga learning opportunity pa ang criticism. Kasi po kapag pinupuna ka or merong something na sinasabi sa'yo, ibig sabihin concern. Gusto nila na mas mag-improve ka or other naman hindi. Pero pagiging open, kapag nga po open-minded tayo, ay mas magiging helpful ang criticisms na yon for us to be better leaders.
Ayan, thank you so much for that, Kuya Dwayne. So kaya nag-exist ang criticism, there is something wrong and there is something that needs change. So ayan, so Kuya Jansel, kanina pala, hindi po kita natanong about yung importance ng resiliency sa leadership. So, ano po bang insights nyo doon?
Okay, actually, resilience, mahirap siyang term. It's actually, mabigat siya. Knowing that leadership actually has its downs. Mahirap talaga siya, yung resilience, yung being resilient. But I want you to know, that resiliency is something that we actually experience. This is something that we need to enhance on. So, paano ko sinasabi? Kumbaga, there will be problems na itetest tayo. And itong mga problems na ito, it will help us to be better. Sometimes nga napapaisip ako, for example, sa studies natin, there are subjects na parang we feel na parang hindi naman siya need. Or may mga certain things sa education system na we felt na parang hindi naman siya helpful para sa akin. But I find this as a challenge. If there are things na parang, for example, in your or high school days, meron tayong arts na tinatawag, tapos hindi ka artistic or you're not artistically inclined. This actually tells you that you are being challenged. And then through this challenge, we actually learn to be adaptive. We are learning that in life, things are not always gonna go well dun sa ating mga plano. But if we learn to adapt well, we will actually become resilient. So, it is actually an experience. Accumulating experience. Hindi siya isang biglaan na may resiliency ka na kagad. It is actually a combination of experience. At paano ka makaka-experience? It's actually to try things. So, ayun, resilience will come its way when there is an experience, when there is a challenge. And as leaders, we solve challenges. So, kaakibat na yung leadership natin. And hopefully, dun sa mga tao na nalulus yung hope nila because they felt na parang things are not doing well talaga, there's always a room for you to step back. Not all the times we are always at our 100%. Sometimes we are at our middle, sometimes we are at lowest. Kasi leaders need to regain its energy pa rin naman. We are still human. Sabi ko nga kanina, na parang leaders are prone for failures. And if you feel na parang you need to take a rest, you need to step back, find time to say no then. Okay. Sabi ko kanina, say yes, di ba? Ganyan. But if you feel na parang hindi mo pa talaga kaya, you have to step back. But eventually, mararamdaman mo ulit na, ay, namimiss ko yung opportunity, namimiss ko yung to help other peoples. At during that time naman, you will come back stronger, sabi nga nila. So if you feel na parang you have come from a very long pause with a hiatus, and you feel na parang this is my time ulit to come back, then file for your COC. Kami meron tayong endorsement, but ayun. So resiliency is an experience, but it doesn't always come with its easy path. You have to really earn it. And if you feel na hindi mo pa kaya, take a step back. But if you feel na parang you have regained your energy, and if you feel talaga that it is a calling for you to serve, say yes.
So yan, Kuya Jancel. So like sinabi niyo po kanina, resilience is an experience. So when we lose hope and there are setbacks, we should take it as a challenge talaga, and through this we learn to be adaptive. Okay, I like that, Kuya. So, ayan, Ate Kara, ready na ba ang second question natin from our listeners?
Yeah, thank you for that, Kuya Jancel. So for our second question, this is from our anonymous sender. How to keep on being an effective leader during difficult times. So, Kuya Dwayne, what's your take on this?
Madali lang po. 'Di ba, merong times na parang mabibigla ka sa mga problema. Pero being a leader, kailangan natin na mag-isip, and then you find ways to solve that problem. And then habang nagsa-struggle tayo, mas nagiging better kasi yung leader tayo nun eh. And then as we grow stronger, we get better, mas nagiging fulfilling yung ating role bilang leaders. And ayun.
Yun. Thank you for that, Kuya Dwayne. So I agree on that na during the hard times, that is when our resilience, or that is when our character is being developed or improved. So I definitely agree po na those times is when we should step up and show up and to lead other people po. And how about you po, Kuya Jancel? What's your take on how to be effective leader during difficult times po?
Being an effective leader is not a one-man job. It is a team effort. So as a leader, it is really important that we always include our members. Na para maging effective tayong leader, dapat nakakapag-empower tayo of our constituents. That the job is not only revolves around you. Sometimes meron din mga problems within the organization. May times din na parang you feel na mag-isa ka. What you need to do is to try to communicate. You communicate well with your members. Share your vision. Share what are the things that needs to be done. Kasi sometimes they are just waiting for your plans, waiting for your commands, waiting for the plans that you have for them. So if to become an effective leader, this is a team effort. You have to really reach out to your members, really have to engage them, empower them with the skills that they need to actually materialize kung ano ba yung needed. Kasi at difficult moments, sinasabi ko sa inyo, this is not a one-man team. This is actually a team effort. And I hope that in every step of the way, in every challenges that you have, you bring it as a group, not just a one-man person. Kasi at the end of the day, effective leadership is measured not because ikaw yung nag-arise. Naging effective tayo if we see that there are changes within your team. Na parang, nung first time parang takot na takot siya to do these things, but through your leadership, she actually gained the confidence to lead then. So doon natin makikita that leadership is a continuous cycle. Na at difficult moments, hindi ito one-man team. This is a team effort. And to do things effectively, you really need to bring your team with you. Kasi parang rin to teatro rin ito, para itong film. Hindi ka mananalong best actor or best actress if ikaw lang yung nag-umangat. It's not actually happens that way. Umaangat ka because you're able to bring your team together. Na parang at the end of the day, maganda yung performance nila. And kumbaga ikaw yung parang naging helpful for them to have that performance. So papalitan niyo ng mga dialogo sa film, 'di ba? Hindi siya magkakaroon ng magandang acting if you did not give your best. At hindi rin siya magiging better actor. Kung for example, meron kang youngster na baguhan lang din sa acting, kung hindi mo siya tutulungan. So if you have that experience, you help others, you reach out to them. And once you lead with your best. Kasi kapag nag-lead ka with your best, people will follow. So, I hope that this is clear. Effective leadership is not a one-man team, but this is a team effort. Bring your team together, communicate well with them, and make them empowered.
Ayan. So, according to Kuya Jansel, you should bring your team with you dahil umaangat ka because you're able to bring your team together. Ayan. Ready na ba ang next question, ate?
Yes. Our next question is very interesting. And of course, this is from an anonymous sender ulit. So, Kuyas, what are your tips for re-energizing an overworked team in an organization?
Ayan. Siguro si Kuya Dwayne muna ulit.
Opo. Ano po ulit yung question?
Kuya, what is your tip for re-energizing an overworked team in an organization?
Parang what moves us, what motivates us, or something like that po.
Ayun, how do we motivate our team members po if we are feeling overworked?
Opo. Parang ano po, ganito. You communicate with them, especially when kapag gusto nilang may sabihin para sa buong group, and then you being a leader, papakinggan mo sila, and then hihingin yung kanilang opinion, their ideas, and then marirealize mo it's not about being you only doing the things and doing the work itself, but as a group. And then eventually it will help you to in your group to be good and achieve your goals. Ganun po. Ayun po.
Ayan. So, dito talaga pumapasok yung importance ng communication sa isang team. So, ayan. Galing naman. Ayan. Si Kuya Jansel pa pala. Okay. Go, Kuya Jansel. Ano po ang inyong insight and tips para sa mga overworked teams?
Ayan. Thank you so much. Okay. Actually, that's a very good question. Kasi sa isang organization, hindi talaga maiiwasan yung pagiging overworked. Nandun yung problem overwork. Maybe as a leader, marami tayong kailangang gawin but we lack the resources. Sometimes we push our team to the limits to the point na they are losing sight of themselves. At itong mga feedback na to is really important as a leader. You have to really see the situation ng iyong mga members. So you have to know kung saan sila nanggagaling. Kasi at the end of the day, pagod yung mga tao eh. There are limits na kailangan nating i-recognize. For example, there are actually two things na parang nakikita ko dito. One is something na nag-volunteer. For example, sa committee ninyo, someone volunteered na maging part ng team ninyo. And parang na-feel niya na parang overwork siya. Na-feel niya parang I need to take rest. And as leaders, we have to listen to these things. Na parang there are times na sobrang daming pala nating ginagawa na we overlook na kailangan pala natin mag-take ng rest. Kasi there are times na sa sobrang daming gusto nating goals and visions as leaders, we lose sight naman kung ano yung needs ng ating team. So it is really important that we recognize their needs as well. Not just your own, but your team. Second, syempre volunteer yan eh. So, kumbaga, it is something that we should give them. Pero kapag naman elected official, for example, elected ka, and you feel na overwork ka, you have to realize that na humarap ka sa mga tao. You faced your studentry, you faced the people. And these people believed in you, believe in your capabilities. They want you to represent them. And I hope sa mga times na parang hindi natin kinakaya, kailangan natin balikan kung ba't nga ba tayo nag-run. And I hope yung reason natin of why to run is something na not out of self-creed. Kasi I believe that there is two motivations. One is a good motivation and the other one is real motivation. I do not know kung ano yung real motivation mo. And I hope na in every step of the way in your leadership process, you are changing the mindset na nagiging fulfilling yung pag-lead natin. So as elected leaders, we must bring back sa kanila kung ano yung ine-expect from you. Okay? There is this why, na in-answer mo before, that's why you run, and that is why you need to show up. Okay? So I hope mabalikan natin yung whys natin, mabalikan natin yung purpose natin as leaders, and mabalikan natin that there are people who elected you, and there are people na naniniwala sa'yo, and I hope along the step of the way, sa mga hardships na pinagdadaanan mo, i-bring mo yung mga taong naniwala sa'yo. There are people who will not vote for us for sure, but there are people who believed in you, and I hope in every step of the way, kahit mahirap yan, dalhin mo sila sa'yo. Okay? Dalhin mo yung mga taong nire-represent mo. Okay? Kasi that will become fulfilling and that will fuel you of your whys and your answers. Okay? So it is actually a reflective thing then. Na parang after you won, it's not actually only the position. You won because people wanted you, because they want you to represent them. And I hope babalikan mo lagi yun. Okay? So there are two things. Volunteer, napagod, meron din na elected leaders. Pag elected, mas mabigat yung responsibility natin. So I hope mabalikan natin yung reason of why we run. And mabalikan natin yung mga taong nag-elect sa atin. Okay? So ayun.
Ayan. So, see the situation of our members. And as leaders, we should remember and remind their needs as well. So, ito naman, so personal tip ko na rin to, never forget to include self-care in your schedules talaga. And of course, like sabi ni Kuya Jancel, always go back to where we started. Ayan, siguro one last question naman before we proceed to our next segment. Yan. Ate Kyra, gusto mo bang itanong yung ating question from viewers?
Yeah, this is a question specifically po for Kuya Dwayne. That would be, how did you apply your strengths and skills to the field of your leadership role?
Yun po. Sabi po, may isang mentor po sa leadership training na aking nasalihan when I was year 2021. And then sabi ni mentor, I was a goal driven daw po. Na every time na may goal ako, I work hard for it po. And then, for years, and then, And being a leader, kapag po alam mo kung ano yung gusto mo, kung saan ka pupunta, alam mo yung ginagawa mo, alam mo kung saan mo dadalhin yung inyong grupo and your team, I think magandang skill yon na kailangan ng leaders para ma-achieve yung goal, para ma-develop yung pagiging leader, and then ayun po. Isang magandang skill ng leader ay pagiging goal-driven dito, para hindi lang yung sa goal niya, pero sa buong goal ng team. Yun po. Ganun dito.
Ayan. So, question naman po para kay Kuya Jansel. So, kamusta po ang work-life balance ninyo?
Ayun, nasabi ko nga kanina, yung work-life balance natin as leaders, there are sacrifices. There are times na kailangan i-answer yung calling before ourselves. Na there are times na may mga family gatherings tayo hindi nasasalihan because there are projects na kailangan gawin. Na may mga work, may mga meetings tayo kailangan atinan. And this is the reality of leadership. And I hope na ready ka for it. Kasi sa work-life balance natin, it will not actually be easy. Kasi it requires your commitment. It requires you to manage talaga. But there are times talaga na hindi natin kayang i-manage. Hindi talaga manageable yung mga workloads natin and all. So, I hope na ready ka dun sa balance na yun, sa work-life na pinili mo. Kasi at the end of the day, mapapagod ka. There are limits within you. Kasi I have come to the point na parang medyo na lose sight ako of socializing to my friends. Kasi parang like kung kausap noon is mga kasama ko sa team, like organization meetings every week, 'di ba? May mga projects tayong kailangang atinan, may mga projects tayong kailangang i-lead. And sometimes nalulose yung ating moment to socialize with our friends and family. Okay. So I hope na siguro sa gagawin natin mga plano, insert din yourself. Na parang there should be time na allotted for yourself time, may bebe time, mga ganyan. Tayo na kailangang include sa ating schedule. Kasi at the end of the day, we cannot spread ourselves too thin. Na there should always be a step back from things. Na if you feel na parang 100% puro orgs naman. Maybe next week I can put like 30% for socializing. And same goes with my team na parang yung ating 40% or 30% is for our rest time. Na siguro gawin na lang natin during this week is more of monitoring, kumusta yung mga progress ng ating mga members and all. Kasi doon papasok yung balance. If you recognize our lapses, if you recognize kung saan tayo lacking, but we cannot always guarantee na magkakaroon ng balance. And I hope maging prepared kayo doon. Ayun. I am speaking for practicality, I'm speaking for reality. Na it will not always be easy. But itong hirap na ito, this actually fulfills me. Na parang you're actually growing from your challenges. And natin yung maganda sa leadership. Na parang it tested you. It tests your limits. Right? It pushed you to go hard. It calls you go beyond your call of duty. So, I hope ma-find nyo pa rin yung fulfillment na ito in doing your tasks na very tiring. Makita nyo pa rin na there are good reasons behind your work. At the end of the day, may mga people tayo matatouch ng lives and I hope maalala lagi natin sila.
Ayan, thank you for that, Kuya. And definitely, we have so many takeaways from that. Like, we have to step up and also, those difficulties, we should see it as an opportunity for us to grow, not see it as a hindrance for our leadership. So, yun, I hope nalinawan at nasagot namin lahat ng katanungan ng ating mga viewers for today. So, yeah, Liza.
Ayan, before we end po, let us now proceed to the highlight of our event. So gusto po namin kayo tanungin, Ito na. What is your challenge to student leaders to step outside their comfort zones, file their COCs, and become adaptive leaders? Kuya Jansel?
Ayan, sabi ko nga kanina, yung mga shinare ko, no, it started with having that desire to explore. Kasi if you will not try, then it will become a regret for you. Ako, I've never regret anything. Sa pag-start ko ng leadership journey ko, kahit kailan hindi ko nasabi sa sarili ko, dahil hindi ako nag-lead. Na dapat nag-stop ako. Dapat pala nag-no ako, no. Hindi ko kailan naramdaman niya sa leadership journey ko. Kasi dito sa exploration na to, nakita ko na I have developed myself. I have seen myself better. Na dati nung elementary ako, sobrang yabang ko na parang I'm the best person in the world. May ganun akong parang mindset, diba? Sobrang mali niya. But through leadership, I was able to find development within myself. Nakita ko and na-humbled ako with the stories and the journey na ramdaman ko. Kasi with our privileges, sometimes tayo mga leaders, di ba, we are well off, meron tayong mga resources. And we will see our community na parang they need someone na mag-represent for them, that they need a voice. That there are this calling of purpose para sa'yo. And I hope na through these situations, we see the silver lining, Nax. We see the things na parang kapag-ignite sa'yo. Okay? To change some mindsets that are wrong, to change things na we do not see helpful for us. Kasi through my leadership journey rin, I have met so many inspiring people. Nakamit ako dito ng mga taong mga mentors. Nakakita tayo dito ng mga taong nagpa-ignite talaga ng ating purpose to really serve. So I'm challenging you guys to step outside your comfort zone and to go with your growth zones. Kasi outside ng comfort mo, nandiyan yung fear zone. Sa fear zone, kailangan mo lang talaga yan harapin. You have to face these things. But behind your fears, pag nandun na kayo, na-step outside yun, mapifeel ninyo, grabe, wow, I'm actually developing myself. Hindi na ito yung Jansel na kita ko before. Na parang my parents are actually happy na parang hindi na ito yung mayabang na si Jansel. Na parang ito na yung si Jansel na grabe, parang iba na siya magsalita sometimes. Na parang very humble and very low na yung, I mean, very ano ka na, very, you've really humbled yourself. So ayun, step outside out of your comfort zone because there are growth within it. I have never regretted anything and I guarantee that it will be worthwhile. Leadership is a good path for you to take, especially that if you want to really serve your community, you want to develop yourselves, and to have a sense of fulfillment. Kasi sabi ko nga, we will all, kumbaga, our life is just a gift for us. At hindi siya magiging gift if we will not give it to others. We have our untapped potentials, we have our skills and capabilities. Let's use it for others. Kasi sabi ko sa inyo, itong mga untapped potential na to, these are the humanity's hope. We become hope if we learn to recognize this. So, I hope that you always choose to lead.
Ayan, so go with your growth zone. So, ayan, personally talaga ako, before ako mag-start ng student leadership journey ko, ayan, sobrang mahiyain ko talaga. And ngayon, nag-host na rin ako ng mga events. Yeah, so you will never know what you were capable of if you don't give it a try. Ayan, how about Kuya Dwayne?
Ayan, to grow both professionally and personally, I encourage leaders to step out of their comfort zone and try something new. The idea may sound scary, but the life lessons and experience will far outweigh any fear. Leaders draw on their past experiences to guide others. By branching out and experiencing something new, leaders became able to see things from a different perspective. And I encourage you, student leaders, to never stop learning and in order to grow both professionally and personally.
Ayan, according naman kay Kuya Dwayne, try something new and never stop learning.
And to our audience today, we hope that you're still here listening to our podcast. Let us challenge ourselves to step outside of our comfort zones. Ika nga.
Yes, partner, alam mo ba yung event natin today, personally, it helped me kasi grabe talaga yung experiences at mga share ng ating guest speakers today.
Yes, totoo yan. And talagang nakaka-inspire yung naging stories nila ng partner from their journey before the pandemic hanggang nagkaroon na ng pandemic where all of us struggled. Pero today, they are here sharing their experiences to all of us.
And we hope na all our audiences also felt the same feeling na mo-continue ang pagiging student leader or simulan ito to serve our fellow Lasallians and for the betterment na rin ng ating institution.
To our audiences, do what you want, lalo na if you to help our fellow Lasallians and of course our beloved DLSL Lipa.
In order to help our institution and to show your leadership, you may file your certificate of candidacy as our green box is still open until March 24.
Yes, tama yun, partner. I know our future leaders are here listening to our podcast. In case they are having doubts about you filing your certificate of candidacy, just remember this podcast kasi sure ako na ma-inspire kayo to really push for filing it.
Ayan, sigurado akong kayang-kaya ng ating future leaders. But I know na our guest speakers will be a big factor sa kanilang pag-file, kaya we should give them the recognition and appreciation. So we are honored to give recognition to our guest speakers today.
A certificate of appreciation is presented to Mr. Jansel Andre Tigzar for sharing his valuable knowledge at the DLSL Commission on Elections event entitled COMELEC Podcast Resilient Leadership, given this March 15, 2023 at the DLSL City, Batangas.
Ayan, we would also like to take this opportunity, Kuya Jansel, to take picture po sa ating certificate. 1, 2, 5. Ayan, okay na po. Thank you so much. Ayan, so proceed na po tayo. We would like to present our certificate of appreciation presented to Mr. Wayne Miguel Lilo for sharing his valuable knowledge at the DLSL Commission on Elections entitled COMELEC Podcast Resilient Leadership, given this March 15, 2023 at Salle Lipa, Batangas. Ayan, picture po muna tayo. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ayan, thank you so much po.
At maraming salamat muli sa ating guest speakers, Mr. Jansel Andre Tigzon and Mr. Dwayne Miguel Lilo. We thank you for helping and inspiring our Lasallian leaders through your experiences as leaders too.
Ayan, we are sure that because of you, a lot of student leaders in Salle Lipa will take the risk to run for the position in student government.
But before we finally end our podcast event today, we just want to ask our audiences and listeners to answer this evaluation form that is being seen on your screen right now. Let us know your thoughts about the event we had today.
Yes, partner, to our audiences from the DLSL Commission on Elections, we thank you for being part of our event today. Your response to our evaluation form means a lot to us, but of course, let us be reminded everyone that only those who answered the evaluation form after the event will be given a certificate of appreciation and attendance.
Please do answer our evaluation form na our fellow Lasallians. Also, may we ask for any last message from our guest speakers to our beloved audiences. Kuya Jansel, siguro ikaw po muna. Okay, Kuya Johnson, can we ask for any last messages po for our audiences po and listeners po for today?
All right. Once again, thank you so much for having me in your show. This is really very self-fulfilling sa akin to share all of my experiences. Thank you for the platform. Thank you rin sa ating mga host, Kyra and Eliza. Thank you so much for joining us ngayon. Siguro yung last message ko for the people watching us is do not fear leadership. I know that is such a big word. I know that this big word also comes with great responsibility, but know that being part of this leadership journey will give you a fulfilling life. If you really seek, if you really want to find meaning, if you really want to seek purpose, if you really want to make the world a better place before you found it, leadership will be for you. And I hope that you find the things na I hope that you find the things that will always scare you. Kasi behind these fears are triumphs, are successes that you will eventually gain once you're there. And if you really want to live a life that is really purposeful, you want to live a life that will actually better yourself in the process, choose leadership. Kasi sabi ko nga, I have never regretted anything in being a leader. But definitely, there will be sacrifices. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Choose leadership and be a champion of the people. Okay? Always bring the people with you. Being a leader is not a one-man team. It is always a team effort. Okay? Recognize your members. Thank you so much.
Ayan, how about you, Dwayne? Ano po ang inyong message sa ating viewers?
Thank you very much po for having me here, especially sa mga nakikinig, and then to you, host, at Ate Kyra and Ate Lisa. And then my last message will be, parang sinabi ko una, never stop learning, and then try something new, and enjoy. Kasi po, we being student leaders, masaya. And masaya na mag-try ng something new, especially sa mga student leaders na posibleng tumakbo for the elections, ganun po.
Ayan, thank you so much, Kuya Dwayne. Ayan, pwede po ba tawagan ulit natin si Kuya Johnson for photo op, tayong apat po.
Okay.
Okay po, ayan. Siguro okay, ayan. Okay, pose po tayo. 1, 2. Okay, isa po Waki. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much po ulit sa ating speakers. Again, mula sa DLSL Lipa and DLSL Commission on Elections, we thank and appreciate you po for participating and accepting our invitation.
Our podcast today has finally come to an end. Medyo napabilis lang yung podcast for me, pero with the knowledge our speakers have given, sulit ang pag-attend ng ating mga audiences.
Yes, sulit talaga, partner. Pero natatapos man ang event natin, marami pang next time and magiging event natin. So, Lasallian, watch out at magkikita-kita pa rin tayo in the future.
Yes, and we thank everyone, especially our lovely audience, and I am so excited to experience that event with our fellow Lasallians. This is just a temporary goodbye to our listeners.
Again, I am Lasallian Camacho, the chairperson of DLSL Community.
And I am Kyra Ramos, your National and International Affairs Officer of DLSL COMELEC, and we are your host for this year's COMELEC Podcast 2023, your guide to excellent leadership.
Hey guys, thank you so much.